السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Part 2 of Element 4 in IGC1, Investigating Incidents. Unfortunately, in spite of an organization's best effort, accidents do happen. When they happen, it's important that the incident is reported, recorded, and investigated in appropriate and timely manner. There are many reasons for conducting investigations. One of the most important is that having happened once, an incident may happen again, and when it happens again, the outcome may be as bad as or worse than it was the first time. It's therefore important to understand exactly why the incident occurred so that corrective action can be taken to prevent a reoccurrence. Often the only thing that separates a near miss or a minor injury accident from a serious injury accident is luck or chance. The place where one worker trips and stumbles on the steps one day may be the place where another worker will trip, fall, and break the arm the next. It follows that all incidents should be examined to determine the potential for serious harm, injury, or loss. Where this potential exists, a thorough investigation should be carried out to prevent that potential from becoming actual. It is also likely that if enormous events are rigorously reported, there will be a far greater number of events to consider, providing more data, which can help highlight the deficiencies in the safety management system. This is not to say that all incidents should be thoroughly investigated in great depth and detail. That would be a waste of time and effort in many cases, but that all incidents should be examined for potential so that a decision can be made as to whether a more detailed and thorough investigation is required. This idea is sometimes formalized into an organization's investigation procedure. So the reason for investigating the incident are: identify the immediate and root causes. Incidents are usually caused by unsafe act or unsafe conditions in the workplace, but these often arise from underlying or root causes. Another reason for investigating the incident is to identify corrective action to prevent a reoccurrence, which is a key motivation behind incident investigation. The third reason is to record the facts of the incident. People do not have perfect memories, and accident investigation records document factual evidence for the future. The fourth reason is the legal reason. The accident investigations are the implicit legal duty imposed on the employer, in addition to the duty to report incidents. The fifth reason is for claim management. If a claim for compensation is lodged against the employer, the insurance company will examine the accident investigation report to help determine liability. Another reason is for staff morale. The non-investigation of accident has a detrimental effect on moral and safety culture because the workers will assume that the organization does not value their safety. Another reason is to enable the risk assessment to be reviewed and updated. An incident suggests a deficiency with the risk assessment which should be addressed. Another reason for the disciplinary purposes. Through blaming workers from incident has a negative effect on the safety culture, as we see in element 3. There are occasions where an organization has to discipline a worker because their behavior has fallen short of the acceptable standards. And the final reason is for data gathering purposes. The accident statistics can be used to identify trends and patterns. This relies on the collection of the good quality data. The types of incident. The incidents can be categorized according to their nature and outcome. Accident, which involve to injury accident and damage only accident, near-miss, dangerous occurrence, and work-related ill health. The accident. An accident is an unplanned, unwanted event which leads to injury, damage, or loss. For example, a worker on the ground is struck on the head and killed by a brick dropped by another worker on 5-meter high scaffold. Or a lorry driver misjudged the turning cycle of the vehicle and knocks over a barrier at the edge of site entrance, crushing the barrier beyond repair. So let's note that in both of these examples, the acts are not carried out deliberately. An accident is unplanned. Any deliberate attempt to cause injury or loss is therefore not an accident. The accident can be further subdivided into injury accident and damage only accident. The injury accident is an unplanned, unwanted event which leads to personal injury of some sort. While the damage only accident is an unplanned, unwanted event which leads to damage to equipment or property. The near-miss is unplanned, unwanted event that had the potential to lead to injury, damage, or loss, but did not, in fact, do so. For example, a worker drops a brick from a 5-meter high scaffold and it narrowly misses another worker standing on the ground. No injury results and the brick is not even broken. The only thing that separates accident and near misses is the outcome of the event. An accident causes loss and near miss does not. The dangerous occurrence, a specified event that has to be reported to the relevant authority by status law. For example, under the UK's Reporting of Injuries, Diseases and Dangerous Occurrence Regulation 2013, certain types of events have to be reported to the relevant authority, even though no injury or ill health may have resulted. For example, the failure of the load-bearing part of a crane is a danger occurrence. No person has to be injured by the failure. The failure itself is reportable. Reporting of these danger occurrences to the relevant authorities is usually a requirement of a law in most countries and regions around the world. Ill health or work-related ill health. The diseases or medical conditions caused by a person's work. For example, dermatitis is a disease of skin often caused by work activities, especially when handling of solvent, detergent, or reacting substances is involved. The work-related ill health include diseases and conditions related to exposure to toxic substances or harmful biological agents, physical or ergonomic hazards, psychological hazards. So the ill health can result from a single incident. For example, it is possible to develop dermatitis as a result of a single exposure to an irritant substance. However, many forms of ill health do not result from a single incident but from ongoing or long-lasting working conditions or multiple exposure. Level of investigations. The amount of time, money, and effort put into an accident investigation should be proportionate to the risk associated with the incident should it happen again. This risk estimation must be made based on the foreseeable and possible severity of harm or loss associated with the incident. It must not be based solely on the actual severity of harm or loss associated with the incident this time. So, for example, the effort put into investigating an accident that resulted in a worker breaking their arm should not be determined simply by looking at the fact that the outcome was a broken arm, which is of course a serious injury. The foreseeable and possible severity of harm associated with a repeat event must be taken into account. If a fatal injury is a very likely outcome from the event, and the worker was lucky to escape with just a broken arm on this occasion, then more time, money, and effort must be dedicated to this investigation process. Similarly, the effort put into investigating a near miss must be determined by the foreseeable possible harm or loss. If the event happens again, not simply on basis that the near miss did not cause any harm or loss, so a near miss that might foreseeably result in a lost time injury should be investigated with a proportionate level of investigation. When determining what level of investigation to apply, the risk associated with each incident can be estimated in order to allocate appropriate resources. As we know from element 3, risk can be estimated by considering the likelihood of occurrence and foreseeable severity of harm or loss. This can be used to determine whether an investigation should be minimal, low, medium, or high. When it's minimal, then immediate line manager and not excessive time or effort. When it's low, the line manager perhaps with some support and more time and effort involved. The medium, the middle manager with support and significant time and effort. And when it's high, the senior management oversight with team-based approach on significant time and effort. Basic investigation procedure. Before the investigation can begin, there are two important issues that should be considered. Number one, the safety of the scenes, which is the area safe to approach? Is immediate action needed to eliminate danger even before casualties are approached? And number two, the casualty care. Any injured people will require first aid treatment and may need hospitalization. This is, of course, a priority. It is also worth considering the welfare of an injured bystander who may be in shock. Once immediate danger has been eliminated and casualties have been attended to, a decision has to be made about the type or level of investigation as the step 1, gather factual information about the event. Step 2, analyze that information and draw conclusions about the immediate and root causes. Step 3, identify suitable control measures. Step 4, plan the remedial actions. The items that could be included on an accident investigation checklist. The personal details of the person involved, time and location of the accident, type and severity of the injury sustained, whether the injured person had been given first aid, had returned to work, or had been sent to hospital, underlying medical condition of the injured person, task being undertaken at the time of the accident, working environment as far as whether standard of lighting and visibility were concerned, conditions of the floor or ground, the type and condition of any personal protective equipment that was being worn, details of the training and information received, details of any relevant risk assessment that had been carried out, and finally, any previous similar accident that had occurred. So, step 1 of the investigation procedure is gathering the information. When we gather the information, we need to secure the sense as soon as possible to prevent it being altered. Then collect witnesses' details quickly before they start to move away. In some cases, it may help to remove witnesses from the sense and ask them to wait in a separate area. If there are many witnesses, it may be better to separate them from each other to prevent them from conferring with each other and developing an agreed story. Collect factual information from the sense and record it. This might be done by means of photographs, sketches, measurement, videos, written description of factors such as wind speed, temperature, the physical evidence such as samples or the equipment that has failed, and marking up existing site locations and locations plan. Once the sense has been thoroughly examined, move on the second source of information, the witnesses. The witnesses often provide crucial evidence that was occurred before, during and after incident. They should be interviewed carefully to make sure that good quality evidence is gathered. For your information, that good witness interview technique required that the interview should hold the interview in a quiet room or area from distraction and interruptions. Introduce themselves and try to establish the rapport with a witness using appropriate verbal and body language. Explain the purpose of interview, perhaps emphasizing that the interview is not about blaming people. Use open questions, such as beginning with the what, why, where, when, who, how, etc., that do not put words into the witness' mouth and do not allow them to answer with a yes or no. Keep an open mind. Take notes so that the facts being discussed are not forgotten. Ask the witness to write and sign a statement to create a record of their testimony. And finally, thank the witness for their help. Once witnesses have been interviewed, then move on to the third source of information, the documentations. Various documents may be examined during an accident investigation, such as the company policies, risk assessment, training records, safe system of work, permit to work, maintenance record, site plans, area layout plans, previous accident reports, and sickness and absence records. Step 2 of the investigation procedure is analyzing the information. The purpose here is to draw conclusions about the immediate and root causes of the incident. The immediate causes are the obvious causes that gave rise to the event itself. This will be the things that occurred at the time and place of the accident. For example, a worker slips on a patch of oil spilled on the floor, injuring their back as they fall backward and hit the ground. The immediate cause of this back injury is hitting the ground, but there are many contributors to this cause. It is common to think of these in terms of unsafe act and unsafe condition. So here, for example, we might have the slippery oil, which is the unsafe condition, and the worker walking through it This is the Unsafe Act. So the immediate cause contain the Unsafe Act and unsafe conditions. Underlying causes or root causes are the things that lie behind the immediate causes. Often, root causes will be failure in the management system, such as the failure to adequately supervise the workers, failure to provide appropriate PPE, failure to provide adequate training, lack of maintenance, inadequate checking or inspections, and failure to carry out proper risk assessment. So, in this exercise, we have a worker is struck by a load being carried on a pallet by a forklift truck. Outline possible immediate and underlying causes of the accident. The immediate causes is failure to secure the pallet, poor positioning of truck close to the bus train exit, aggressive braking by the driver, an attentive pedestrian step into the path of the forklift truck. And the underlying or root causes are no training for the driver, lack of segregation of vehicles and bus trains, poor driver induction, poor truck maintenance, and no fresh training. Step 3 in the investigation procedure is identifying suitable control measures. Once the immediate and underlying causes of the accident are known, appropriate control measures can be identified. It is important that the correct control measures are established, otherwise time, money, and effort will be wasted on inadequate and unnecessary measures that will not prevent similar occurrences in the future. The control measures must be identified to remedy both the immediate and underlying causes. Immediate causes are usually easy to identify. If there is a spill of an oil on the floor, clean it up. If the guard is missing from the machine, reattach it. The underlying causes can be harder to determine because they reflect failure of the management system. However, it is essential that the correct control measures to remedy the failure of the management system are identified because this will help prevent similar accidents occurring in similar circumstances across the entire organization. For example, if a worker slips on some oil that has leaked out of a vehicle in the distribution depot, the employer may clean up the oil leaking out of the vehicle, which is the immediate cause, but fail to deal with the underlying cause, which is the lack of inspection and maintenance. This could lead to more leaks, which in turn may lead to more bus train slips and perhaps vehicle skids. Or clean up the oil leaking out of the vehicle and deal with the underlying cause by introducing a proper inspection and maintenance system. In this instance, there is a good chance that most oil leaks will be prevented in the future for all vehicles in the fleet at all locations. So perhaps the most important questions to ask when identifying control measures are: if this action is taken, will it prevent the same accident from happening in exactly the same way at this location? And if this action is taken, will it prevent other similar types of accident from happening in similar locations in the future? If the answer to both of these questions is no, then you need to identify other control measures. Step 4 of the investigation procedure is planning the remedial actions. An incident investigation should lead to corrective action being taken. In just the same way as a workplace inspection will, remedial action can be presented in the action plan. When the action plan is being prepared, appropriate immediate and interim control measures must be given suitable priorities and timescales. The unsafe condition must not be allowed to persist in the workplace. The dangerous practices and high-risk activities must be dealt with immediately. This means that immediate action must be taken to remedy these circumstances when they are discovered. Machinery and equipment may have to be taken out of action, certain work activities suspended, and locations evacuated. These responses cannot be left until the investigation has been completed. They will have to be implemented immediately to ensure safety while the investigation is in progress. There may be interim control measures that can be introduced in the short to medium term to allow work to proceed while longer term solutions are being worked out. For example, hearing protection might be introduced as a short-term control measure until the maintenance of the piece of machinery that is producing excessive noise has been completed. A perimeter guard might be fitted around an overheating machine that would ordinarily be protected with a fixed enclosed guard, while a new cooling unit are sourced and delivered. Underlying causes will often demand significant time, money, and effort to remedy. So it's essential, therefore, the remedial actions that will have the greatest impact are prioritized and timetabled first. There may be actions that have to be taken to address the management weakness or to achieve legal compliance. That will not be effective in preventing future accidents. While these actions should still be taken, but with a lower priority. The contents of a typical incident investigation report may include date and time of the incident, location of the incident, details of the injured person or persons involved, like the name, role, work history, details of injury sustained, description of the activity being carried out at the time, drawings or photographs used to convey information on the sense, details of witness and witness statements, immediate and underlying or root causes of the incident, assessment of any breach of legislations, recommended corrective action with suggested cost, responsibilities, and timescales, and finally, estimation of the cost implications for the organizations along with the signatures. The recording and reporting the incidents. Reporting is the process of informing people that an incident has occurred. This can be internally within the organization or externally to enforcing authorities or insurers. While the recording is the process of documenting the event. The reason for reporting incident is to trigger the provision of first aid, preserve the accident sense, enable investigations to be carried out to prevent reoccurrence, legal requirement to report some incidents and to record for civil claims. The barriers to reporting is unclear organizational policy, no reporting system in place, culture of not reporting for peer pressure, overly complicated reporting procedures, excessive paperwork, takes too much time, blame culture, apathy or poor management response, concern over impact on the organization and individuals, and reluctance to receive the first aid. The internal and external incident reporting depend on the severity. While the internal is reporting to directors, senior managers, human resources managers, health and safety environmental advisors, and the workers representative. While the external reporting for the family of casualty, external authorities, insurance companies, public relations advisors. The externally reportable events, the incident need to be reported to a regulator by law. For example, the fatality, major injury, dangerous occurrence, disease, and lost time injury. The analysis of data. What is the trend in incident rate over the past 5 years? What are the most common type of accident? What are the most common types of injury? Between what time of the day do most accidents occur? Which part of the body is most frequently injured? Which department has the highest accident rate? What is the accident rate trend for a particular part of the organization? Where do most accidents occur on the workplace? And the final part of the investigation report is the lesson learned. Contain the action taken as a result of the incident, publish internally as a lesson learned that shows the company commitment to improving and allows improvement to be made, and maintain confidentiality. التحقيق في الحوادث. السؤال هو لماذا نقوم بالتحقيق بالحوادث؟ هو السبب الرئيسي هو تحديد الأسباب المباشرة والجذرية، وتحديد الإجراءات التصحيحية لمنع التكرار، ولتسجيل وقائع الحادث لتوثيق الأدلة الواقعية للمستقبل، ولكونها متطلبات قانونية ومتطلبات التأمين، ولتحسين معنويات الموظفين، وهو جزء من الأغراض التأديبية، ولتحديد تقييم المخاطر واكتشاف التوجهات، أي أين يوجد أكثر الحوادث. التحقيق يكون على مستويات، أما للحوادث البسيطة أو الحوادث الكبيرة أو ذات الاحتمالية الكبيرة. بالنسبة للحوادث البسيطة يتولى التحقيق فيها المدير المباشر أو المشرف المباشر، أما الحوادث الكبيرة أو ذات الاحتمالية الكبيرة يحقق فيها فريق متكامل يشمل اختصاصي السلامة، المدير الأول أو المدير من الإدارة العليا، اختصاص فني، وممثل عن العمال. إجراءات التحقيق الأساسية هي أولاً الحفاظ على المشهد، أي سلامة مسرح الحادث. هل المنطقة آمنة للتقدم إليها؟ هل تم اتخاذ إجراءات فورية للقضاء على الخطر حتى قبل الاقتراب من المصابين؟ الاهتمام بالمصابين ورعايتهم عن طريق تقديم الإسعافات الأولية ونقلهم إلى المستشفى. أيضاً مراعاة من يكون من المارة إذا كانوا في حالة صدمة. فالخطوة الأولى من إجراءات التحقيق الأساسية هي تجميع الحقائق. الخطوة الثانية تحليل الحقائق والمعلومات وبناء الخاتمة. الخطوة الثالثة تحديد الضوابط وطرق السيطرة للوقاية من الحادث. الخطوة الرابعة تحديد الخطوات لتجنب الحادث مرة أخرى حسب الجدول الزمني لذلك. بالنسبة إلى جمع الحقائق عن طريق حفظ مكان الحادث، التعرف على الشهود، تجميع الحقائق والمعلومات، من خلال الصور والرسومات، القياسات، الملاحظات، وضع الخطط وأخذ العينات. أيضا مقابلة الشهود وأخذ شهاداتهم وتدقيق وفحص الوثائق. بالنسبة إلى الشهود وطرق استجواب الشاهد، هو وضعه في غرفة خالية وهادئة، نحاول أن نجعل الحوار معه ودي، نبين له أهمية الشهادة ونحاول عدم لوم الشاهد، نستخدم الأسئلة المفتوحة مثل من، ماذا، أين، متى، لماذا، كيف، اشرح، بين. ما معناه أتجنب الأسئلة التي يكون عليها الجواب بنعم أو لا. نأخذ الملاحظات، نطلب بيان مكتوب من الشاهد، نشكر الشاهد. هذه نهايتها. أما بالنسبة إلى فحص الوثائق، هو أي الخطط الخاصة بالموقع والرسومات، سياسة الصحة والسلامة، تقييم المخاطر، سجلات التدريب، نظم العمل الآمنة، تصاريح العمل، سجلات الصيانة، تقارير الحوادث السابقة والسجلات الطبية. الخطوة الثانية من procedure التحقيق هو تحليل المعلومات، أي معرفة الأسباب المباشرة والرئيسية. الأسباب المباشرة هي الأفعال غير الآمنة والأوضاع غير الآمنة، أما الأسباب الرئيسية أي السبب وراء الأسباب المباشرة، وعادة ما تكون فشل في الأنظمة الإدارية. الخطوة الثالثة من خطوات التحقيق من procedure التحقيق هو تحديد تدابير الوقائية المناسبة. أما الخطوة الرابعة هي التخطيط لإجراءات علاجية، أي أن الأوضاع الخطيرة يجب التعامل معها فورا. قد يكون من الممكن اتخاذ إجراءات مؤقتة. أما بالنسبة للأسباب الرئيسية فهي تتطلب إجراءات أكثر تعقيدا، أي تتطلب مزيد من الوقت والجهد والمال، وتحتاج لتحديد الأولويات. أما الإجراءات الواجب اتخاذها في أعقاب الحادث تكون إجراءات قصيرة المدى، فورية أو أولية، وإجراءات طويلة المدى. بالنسبة للإجراءات قصيرة المدى هي تقديم الإسعافات الأولية للشخص المجروح ونقله إلى المستشفى عند الحاجة، تأمين المنطقة لمنع أي حادث آخر في نفس المكان، تأمين المنطقة وحفظ كل الأدلة حتى البدء بالتحقيق، أخذ صور لمشهد الحادث وتحديد الشهود الذين سيتم مقابلتهم سريعا، تفعيل خطة الاستجابة للطوارئ، أي إبلاغ مدير الموقع، مدير السلامة والصحة المهنية، السلطات المحلية عند الحاجة، بالإضافة إلى أسرة الشخص المجروح أو أقربائه. أما الإجراءات طويلة المدى هي استكمال تقرير التحقيق النهائي وإبراز الأسباب الجذرية وأي انتهاكات للقانون أو سياسة الشركة، مقابلة الشهود وتضمين شهادتهم في تقرير التحقيق، فحص ومراجعة الوثائق مثل تقييم المخاطر، سجلات التدريب، إجراءات العمل الآمن وغيرها. كذلك إبلاغ شركة التأمين بالتفاصيل، وتقديم ملخص تحذير للسلامة أو safety alert لكل الدروس المستفادة وتوزيعها في كافة أنحاء المنظمة أو المؤسسة. المعلومات المتضمنة في تقرير الحوادث هي البيانات الشخصية عن الشخص المصاب وتاريخه الوظيفي والتدريب الذي حصل عليه، تفاصيل عن حجم الخسارة أو الإصابة، تفاصيل عن المعدات والآلات المشتركة في الحادث وأي خسائر لحقت بها، زمن وتاريخ ومكان وقوع الحادث وما إذا كان تم الإبلاغ عنه، وصف الحادث أي كيف وقع، الوثائق الخاصة بما تسمى بوثيقة الصلة التي يجب إرفاقها مثل تقييم المخاطر، أنظمة العمل الآمن، كذلك صور ورسومات لمشهد الحادث وتفاصيل ذلك، بيانات الشهود ونسخ من شهاداتهم، الأسباب الممكنة المباشرة والجذرية للحادث، أي انتهاك للقانون أو سياسة الشركة أو إجراءات العمل، تفاصيل حول أعضاء فريق التحقيق في الحادث والتوصيات وخطة العمل. الإبلاغ وتسجيل الحوادث. الأسباب للإبلاغ عن الحوادث هو لتوفير الإسعافات الأولية، الحفاظ على مكان الحادث، تمكن البدء بالتحقيق ووضع الحلول لمنع تكرار الحادث، قد يكون شرطا قانونيا للتحقيق وتقديم التقرير، وللتسجيل الدعاوي. هناك موانع تعيق من الإبلاغ عن الحوادث. أما السياسة التنظيمية للشركة تكون غير واضحة أو لا يوجد نظام للإبلاغ عن الحوادث، ثقافة عدم الإبلاغ بسبب ضغط الأقران، الإجراءات المعقدة، كثرة الأوراق، تأخذ من الوقت الشيء الكثير. هناك ثقافة لوم سائدة في المنظمات، هناك لا مبالاة من قبل الإدارة، القلق من تأثير التبليغ على المنظمة والشركة، وتردد لتلقي الإسعافات الأولية. سجل الحوادث له محتوى هو اسم وعنوان المصاب، وقت وزمان الحادث، موقع الحادث، تفاصيل الإصابة، تفاصيل العلاج، وصف الحدث الذي سبب الإصابة، تفاصيل أي معدات أو المواد الموجودة بالحادث، أسماء الشهود وتفاصيلهم، تفاصيل من كتب التقرير، من كتب التقرير عفوا، وأخيرا التواقع. هناك إبلاغ داخلي وإبلاغ خارجي للحوادث. نوع الإبلاغ يعتمد على مدى الضرر. بالنسبة للإبلاغ الداخلي يكون للمدراء العامين، المدراء، مدراء الموارد البشرية، واختصاصي الصحة والسلامة والبيئة، وممثلو العمال. أما الإبلاغ الخارجي يكون لعائلة المصاب، الهيئات الخارجية، شركات التأمين، ومستشار العلاقات العامة. الحوادث اللي يجب الإبلاغ عنها خارجيا حسب القانون هي حوادث الموت، الإصابات الكبيرة، الحوادث الخطيرة، الأمراض وإصابات المضيع للوقت. أخيرا جمع المعلومات والتحليل. عند تحليل المعلومات هناك مجموعة من الأسئلة، وما هو الاتجاه في الحادث، أي معدل الإصابات على مدى السنوات الخمس الماضية، ما هي الأنواع الأكثر شيوعا من الحوادث، ما هي الأنواع الأكثر شيوعا من الإصابة، في أي وقت من اليوم تزداد أعداد الحوادث، أي جزء من الجسم هو الأكثر إصابة، أي قسم لديه أعلى معدل حوادث، ما هو الاتجاه ومعدل الحوادث لجزء معين من الشركة، أين معظم الحوادث تحدث في مكان العمل. وأخيرا عند إكمال تقرير التحقيق يجب تحضير الدروس المستفادة، أي الإجراءات المتخذة نتيجة الحادث. هذه الدروس المستفادة تنشر داخليا باسم lesson learned، اللي هي تظهر بها التزام الشركة بتحسين الصحة والسلامة، وتسمح بإدخال تحسينات على النظام مع المحافظة على السرية.